Wait, now I'm hitting record. We are now recording. What are you drinking?
I'm drinking Bitty Bitty Double Dry Hop Lager.
Yeah. That is not a paid sponsorship, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. That's just Chad getting drunk.
That's fair. That's fair.
This is my first one since you hit record.
Let's see how this goes.
Yeah. Well, Tony, if you need time to get a drink, we can wait. But if not, we can get this going.
I'll tell you what, I will.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
It's a damn fine beer. It's delicious. Well done.
I seen at the liquor store the other day, or not, it wasn't the liquor store, it was one of the groceries. No, it was a liquor store, Liquor Express in Winterton. When I was passing through, I noticed that they had a lot of the dildo beers there. Full line of them, I mean, canned off and whatever. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I hadn't seen them out and about before. But no, I don't pay much attention either. I'm not a big drinker.
I'm at Marie's like every week, dropping like $50. Marie's is like getting on my money.
On the hope that we do get some of the sponsorship, I am drinking 40 Creek, ladies and gentlemen, Barrel Select.
Actually, I do believe an old friend of mine is a liquor rep for those guys.
Oh yeah. That was loud.
Hopefully we can get Powerade too while we're at it. So
Coca-Cola.
Let's just get them all. Let's get them all.
Yeah, indeed. I apologize, guys, if I got a cough. I don't have COVID, I hope, but I do have a little tickle in the throat. So my apologies if I'll try not to cough into the mic. But anyway, is what it is.
Right on.
All right. Well, I think we get going by introducing our second of our what we call our average Joes. You don't get any more average than this guy. Tony's a buddy of mine, actually. I met Tony 2000 what, Tone?
2005.
5? Yeah, that's about right.
2005.
Irish
time.
Yeah. For a large portion of my life, and Tony's as well, we worked as sailors, basically merchant sailors, so working on industrial shipping. Me and Tony met up on an FPSO that was being constructed in Newfoundland, and been buddies ever since. We haven't been overly productive either. This is probably the most productive we've been in a long time here tonight.
This is probably the most organized, at least.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's be honest.
But Tony became a Leafs fan since I've known him, so he's a little newer to the Leafs than the rest of us. But he came in at the right time. I give him that.
Yeah.
And, first game Tony we watched was what? Or if not first game, I said worst. I should say the worst game in the first season that we watched.
Oh, it's probably that 4-1. We watched that collapse on a ship.
Yeah,
we watched that on a ship. We couldn't even go to the bar and drink our sorrows. Like it was bad.
Satellite TV on a boat. Yeah, there was me and Tony and another Leafs fan and a Bruins fan in the same room. And we're like jumping around.
Bad times.
And you know what? The poor old Bruins fan, after the game was over, after the comeback and they lost in overtime, he didn't even rub it in. He felt so bad for us. And because I can't say I would have done the same, but I was pretty impressed. Trent he was like, man, that was rough.
That was bad.
Anyway, that was the first season that we really got into hockey on the boats, and we've been talking Leafs ever since. So without any further ado, welcome Tony West. He's our average Joe, guest number 2. Got big shoes to fill from Patty Phillips to Tony West. So I guess without any further ado, we say titter tatter. Let's get at her. All right, guys, welcome back. Welcome to episode 16 of Deke Snipe Silly Podcast. Your host, Ryan Gates, Chad Newman, and tonight we're joined by Tony West. I mentioned there in the intro, Tony's an average Joe. Nothing special about Tony whatsoever, not in my opinion anyway. I've known him a long time. But
I don't really have room to argue that point either, actually.
No.
Where are you situated right now, Tony?
I'm in Gander, actually, Chad.
Gander.
Yeah, I'm not originally from here. I'm from a little place out on the coast called Lado Cove. It's about an hour outside of Gander. Been in Gander since 2007. Been in Gander, so this is where we're to. When you work away, you don't really have much say in where you live.
Where you're gonna be living, yeah.
Upper management takes care of that.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Really interesting too, because having someone on now from Gander. Oddly enough, I've been doing some research because we've got enough podcasts and enough stuff out there now that we're starting to get some analytics back from YouTube and from RSS feeds as to where our listeners are from. And as expected, we got a large portion of our listeners are in Newfoundland, and an equally large portion are in Southern Ontario for obvious reasons. Oddly enough, we've got an oddly large following in Kansas and Kentucky. There's a couple places in the States that were, I don't know how they've picked us up, but anyway, they've subscribed and they're listening.
I would say ECHL group possible.
Could
Friends
be.
that I know that I share in their group.
Yeah,
good group
be too. A good group of people indeed. Yeah. Big shout out to those guys, but
cool.
A lot of Americans would know where Gander is because of 9/11, of course. It's
yes,
it's historic now with the Broadway shows and everything else. So
come from away,
indeed.
Yeah, that's
a fact. Gander.
Yeah, no, I think that the guests that you've had before, me being an average Joe, certainly helps that cause also. You know, Dean McDonald there, like you were talking about when it comes to DCHL. You know, he started off with Joe Bowen. So you guys started off in the stars, and now welcome back to Earth.
Yeah. On the decline already.
We've got a really small listening group in Gander as well, it turns out. Maybe we can grow on that now.
It's about to explode.
Yeah, it's about to explode in Gander, yeah. That's what she said. All right, so anyway,
for the goose.
We're here tonight, and it's not even a game night. This is just a regular night. I got to start off by first. We've introduced Tony. You get an idea what Tony's about. I got to talk about our sponsor. We've got an amazing sponsor, guys. PHG Sports out of Ontario. If you want to check them out, I'm running their address down here right now. It's phgsports.com. They sell a litany of sports memorabilia. If you're a Leafs fan like the rest of us, there's a ton of great Leaf stuff there. I drool over on the daily. I try not to spend too much time on the website because, again, the wife gets right gone. I got packages coming straight time.
But it's got everything. It's Leafs, it's Jays, it's wrestling, it's
UFC, football,
UFC.
Yep, pretty much whatever you're into.
Yeah.
The Costco Roadshow, everybody knows it. You've seen it. That's these guys.
Yeah, they're fantastic. We're working on getting Todd on as well. He'll be on sooner than later. I'm hoping to get him on for an episode now before the playoffs start. He's pumped to come on, talk some Leafs hockey with us as well. So while he's our sponsor, he'll be similar to an average Joe. We're just going to talk hockey. Yeah. So
I just want to ask about the cool stuff that he has. That's what I want to know.
Well, I can't wait to ask Todd about his personal collection. I've talked to him privately a few times about odds and ends, but never had an actual conversation about, if you're selling off this kind of stuff, what do you have that you're not, right? Because that's what I want to dip into. I'm like, Todd, tell me some of that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, really. That's stuff you're not seeing on the website, right? Or sitting on a shelf or something like that. Like you got to show up in this guy's room wherever he's got it, right? Yeah,
he's got a vault somewhere.
Yeah, no, they got quite a stock of stuff. So, anyway, guys, if you get a chance, check out our sponsor, phgsports.com, and make sure to touch base with those guys. If you have anything you're looking for, they might be able to hook you up too, even if it's not on their website. They're very connected.
And we got offers too. We get certain offers as well. We had the Willie Nylander.
Yep, we had a Nylander offer that ran until the 9th of this month, where he gave us 40% off on a signed Nylander photo, which I thought was really cool. It was a great deal from his rookie year. Centennial patch on the shoulder. I really like that one. And I'm told he's going to come up with something really awesome for Leafs fans leading into the playoffs. So that'll be through DSC. So we're stoked about that. So again, guys, if you're enjoying the podcast, if nothing else, check out their website. And if you don't plan on buying, just check them out, see what they're all about. Yeah. And if you'd like to see anything, get any signings you're looking for, let us know. We'll pass it along to them. But without further ado, I think we'll move on to what we're here to talk about, which is hockey, Leafs hockey at that.
Yeah.
So we haven't had a podcast since it was like 3 games ago against the Montreal. They've played the Habs twice since our last one. Our last podcast we did like this, Talking Hockey, was a podcast where they just played the Habs and just lost. And we were kind of like, not really worried. You guys weren't anyway, Chad. I was a bit concerned. But in any case, since then, we've played them again twice more, and we've beat them twice.
As it should be.
Well, yes, and it should be. But I'm curious as what both your guys' take is on how because I mean we're going to be playing unless the Habs lose next 2 and Calgary wins the next 4, we're playing Montreal in the first round. So what is your opinion on how they've played Montreal overall? Because I think we've seen them not play so well. We've seen them play really well, and we've seen them play kind of okay. So what's your takeaways from what you've seen so far, Tony?
So with what I've seen, like so far this season, if you take the full season series, I think we're sitting at like 7-2-1 against Montreal.
Mm-hmm.
So, having this last game right near the end, and having that little bit of a stinker, it wasn't a terrible game, but it was a little bit of a stinker as a loss. You still look at it and you're like, it's still a winning season series. The last 2 games against them, they've just dominated the team. I know that Montreal's had some injuries, Carey Price is out and several other their key players are out. So you take that and Drouin, I think too.
Yep.
Yeah. So if you take that into account, yeah, sure. But we've had injuries too, and we found a way to win. So if you look at the season as a whole, then 7-2-1, that record will win you a playoff series every time. It's been a very controlling season, and the games that they lost weren't terrible losses. Like it wasn't. Yeah, and that's why we've watched the Leafs, right?
Stinker.
Yeah, we've watched the Leafs do that against everybody this year. They've had a stinker against everybody. Ottawa even in the very first part of the season. So if you take that out and you just, that's what I try to do, is I don't focus on one game and how they played that one particular game. I look at how they played against each team in the division over the course of the full season, and we got a winning record against every single one of them, and that's the reason we're in first. So if you look at it that way, don't get too caught up in individual games, because believe me, I've done that, and Leafs fans, we're a bit scared when it comes to winning and losing. So I kind of mellowed out a bit and said, okay, let's look at the big picture, what we're doing, what we're trying to do now. And that's another thing, this time of the year now, with the points position that we're in, Keefe is trying a few different things to see what he got. There's been some guys coming into the lineup that hasn't played all season, some new pickups that he had at the trade deadline and stuff like that he's been seeing what they got in case there's an injury or something like that. So there's been a bit of, except for the first line and the second line, which is just the 4 guys, everybody else been moved around, tried here and there. So it's been a bit of a feeling out the end of the season to see, in case of emergency and you get into playoffs, what do we really have when it comes to depth?
So Montreal, the past few games, I don't see the urgency of the Leafs, and I'm not worried about it. And I keep saying to you, when they were giving away that game, it should be an easy win. And I believe they really could if they wanted to. They're just not going to really press themselves. They're already clinched. And I just think if, it's going to be Montreal coming up, we got a healthy Foligno, healthy Hyman, healthy Riley Nash, Freddie, if Campbell isn't going to start. I mean, I don't want to get too bold, but I wouldn't be surprised to see a sweep. It's just, I don't think I don't think we've seen 100% Leafs yet, and you're going to see that.
My worry is that we haven't seen 100% Habs. I think we've seen probably 80% Leafs, 40% Habs. I think that the 2 teams are a lot closer than what
Not this year, buddy. Not this year. I think they're going to turn it up, and I think they're going to steam.
I think that this season, with the way that the team has played as a whole, and the Matthews Marner, I mean, listen, we can talk all day about Matthews Marner. They have been who they are, and even Tavares and Nylander now with Foligno, he's been fabulous since he's come on board, stuff like that. And the guys know that this Amazon Prime is watching them, and everybody is watching them, and they've had some really terrible playoffs since Matthews been, Marner showed up and stuff like that. So this year, with the way that they played all season, with the goaltending that they've had, the defensive responsibilities that they've took, I think that they're just waiting now. They're just waiting for them to say, this is the first game of the playoffs. And I think you're going to be shocked in what you see. I think that you're going to reevaluate that you've said you've seen 80% when you're going to look at it and go, I think we only seen 60 because where's the rest of this come from?
And Campbell still
I
only
think they're going to
lost 4
come
times
on. Yeah.
in combined. So to think that he's going to lose 4 in a series,
No.
Yeah.
he only lost 4 combined. So far, and they could have been wins, like 3 of them. So
yeah,
my only concern with Jack going into the playoffs is his nerves. I mean, I think he's a goalie who thinks a lot, and he's in his own head a lot, and it's a different kind of pressure. We've seen Jack under pressure when he was getting close to that record, and that's the only couple of games he lost because of the pressure.
Yep.
And my only fear is that he gets in his own head. But we've got a pretty good backup coming up through the minors there now. Young gentleman by the name of Frederick Anderson, playing his heart out down the minors, not getting much results, but he is the next great thing in Toronto.
And behind him, David Riddick. I mean, it's okay. We're doing all right in goaltending.
I'm gonna be so mad if I don't get to see Riddick playing the popping pads. I'm gonna be rotted. I'm not lying. Like,
yeah.
I mean, we got to see him in the red pads. I was like, oh, I gotta go. And then he goes out and gets this beauty set of throwbacks.
The blue duct tape pads, yeah. The throwbacks are real sweet though. The pop ends.
Popping pads are.
What is that? A leaf, a flame, or a feather? Or what is that? It's kind of like an in between something aggressive looking.
Yeah, I think it's like a blue flame. I think. Now don't quote me on that either. That's just I don't know what it is, to be honest with you.
Yeah, this looks cool, man.
It does.
Black, blue, and white, man.
It was just cat scratches.
I love it. Yeah.
But yeah.
No. Freddie guys is he's still getting paid to be the number 1, right? Like,
well, that's it.
Everybody was saying like there's something wrong with Fred. There was something wrong with Fred, and then they came out and said, yeah, he's been battling an injury. And listen, goaltender with I think it was a hip. They were saying he was having trouble with his hip. So
his lower body, whatever it was.
Yeah, I think that when they did an interview there not too long ago, it was only a few days ago, that he said that it was a hip injury. So if you're trying to be a goaltender and you got a hip injury, like, come on.
Yeah, your lateral movement's not going to be so well.
No. So if he's back healthy, get some pucks at in there now, getting some practice. I don't know how they fit him in the lineup for a regular season game before the playoffs, but
that's what I was listening to on Leaf.
Yeah, they've done a bit of voodoo before, so maybe do start one of these games, right?
Well, Craig Button said, no, you definitely 100% start your starter, keep him sharp. And then I guess there's a whole other college of that to say, hey, why not rest your starter and give the other guy who's going to come in and back up and give him just a couple games and rest Campbell.
But this is the thing, Freddie. Well, you're both correct. Freddie is getting paid as a starter, but he is not the starter.
No,
he is not the starter right now. He's not your starting goaltender. If the game sheet comes out in 2 days' time, Wednesday morning when they have their pregame skate, and it's anybody other than Campbell, you're all going to be surprised because Jack Campbell right now is our starting goaltender.
17-2-2.
Yes, I know he only lost 4 times. Now, do you arrest him? Do you not take the chance to get him injured and give Freddie the opportunity to get in front of a few pucks of a few games that mean absolutely nothing? You have playoffs clinched. You have first clinched. What else do you want? I mean,
well, it would give the team something to play for if they had Freddie in that. So be like, hey, we got to get this guy's confidence.
And
you'd have to say Campbell, like Freddie, like you're starting Campbell, and Freddie just needs some time, but you're starting the playoffs. Don't worry about it. It's not in jeopardy, even if Freddie's lights out. I mean, how do you say that to a guy that's, like Campbell right now? But I think I'd like to get Freddie in there at least once.
Yeah, and maybe you look at it too, and you look at what your opposition will be starting the playoffs. Yeah. So, Freddie is maybe coming off an injury, just getting back into the groove. Maybe it's less risk starting against a Montreal team versus having Campbell start and then having Freddie to come in relatively cold. Nobody likes October Freddie. And then having to play against either a Winnipeg or an Edmonton in the second round without being warmed up.
Well, if Campbell comes in and lays an egg and we got to rely on cold Freddie, come on.
Yeah.
Cold Freddie is bad, boss. Oh, bad.
Yep.
Bad news.
I mean, look at him. Those are the first 2 shots of the Marlies game the other day.
Yeah.
So,
bad.
Cold Freddie. And I love Freddie. Cold Freddie, no.
As do I. But you're 100% right. So you just, obviously there's smarter guys than us looking at the situation. But if you look at the competition that you have coming. So we have Ottawa, and then we have Winnipeg, and then we have a first round against Montreal. And then the second round is really when it starts to heat up in my mind. I don't want to offend anybody in their team, but let's face facts. That is really going to heat up after they get past the first round and they get against either Winnipeg. Yeah.
But you're putting that I mean, I don't want to be that guy, but I've seen far too many first round exits to say, okay, when we get past the Canadians, like, I mean, it's still the playoffs. It's still anybody's game. I'm telling you. I mean, Chad is there. He's wearing a Canadians t-shirt tonight. Look at it. Right? Okay. Well, almost.
So anyway, I took the kids to the doctor today, right? The pediatrician allergy testing, and he's a staunch Habs fan. So I make sure I wear extra Leaf stuff when I go there. And, we were talking about something, and the kids were getting allergy tests. And at the end of it, he was like, is there anything you're allergic to? And I just said, well, game sevens, right? Just to take a jab at myself and get a good kick out of that. But if you look at the Leafs, and you're going to talk about first round exits, man, it's not like they got absolutely swept every time here, right? They put up a good fight every single one of those series. And look at that team now compared.
Yeah.
The team is,
and we're going to lose to the Habs right now. I don't think so, man.
The team is far superior. The players who we needed to be more mature are at least that this year. What a difference in those core players now. Nylander looks like he's accepted his role and he wants to dominate at it. Matthews and Marner, we don't even need to talk about them. It's just no need. Zach Hyman is exactly as advertised. I mean, that's your core, right? And
Nick Foligno's in it.
Now you got Nick Foligno, right?
Now you got Nick Foligno and John Tavares and all these other guys supplementing these kids, and they're not even kids anymore. I mean, they are, but they're not.
When did you think you were going to say that about the Leafs, that we have John Tavares as a supplemental player?
And again, back to Leafs lunch today, they even said, like, well, Gretzky was 23 when he got his first cup. He was putting up record numbers of 200 points, and he never had a cup yet.
Yeah.
And they got a full team. We have a full team here. I think it's time. It'll be a damn shame if it don't happen, obviously. I'm not putting money on it because it's sports. And one injury can mean everything. So I don't know. But I just feel like I'm oddly relaxed going into this. And I'm
actually troubled by how relaxed you are. I've known you for a lot of years, and it's actually when I'm lying in bed in the nighttime, I'm like, what the hell's wrong with Chad? Like
jazz cabbage. I blame the guy. I blame the jazz cabbage.
Yeah, something.
That's what I blame.
Something has changed in a hard way. Hard life.
Yeah. I know, right? And you know what? I've been evolving ever since that 2013 meltdown. Something changed me that night, and you know what? Things changed for me completely. That frantic, mad, angry fan. It's just like I can't be like that anymore. Enter the jazz cabbage, and Chad's good to go. No, get me in the heat of the moment. There's no game on right now, and it could change in a heartbeat. But hey,
yeah,
for right now, I'm feeling pretty good. I'm feeling pretty confident.
Well, you're bringing me back to earth because I'm ready to be mine here. Like I was sweating during the Montreal games we were playing. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to watch the playoffs. I'm just not going to be able to. So anyway, you're keeping me down to earth, which is
listen. Talk to me first game of playoffs. It might be completely different, but right now I'm feeling pretty good. Especially with everyone coming off and wearing non-contact jerseys. I'm like, oh yeah, everything's falling right in place, right in time, coincidentally.
Yeah, go figure. It's almost like it was part of a plan.
Right?
Almost like somebody planned it out.
And it just worked out for the Cap magically.
Before we talk about the grand facilitators of said plan, we might as well finish off our goalie talks. We talked heavily about Freddie and a little bit about Campbell, but announced today that the Leafs nominee for the Masterson Award is none other than our very own starter, Mr. Jack Campbell.
Surprise.
So my understanding of the Masterson is it's based on sportsmanship. Check. Perseverance. He's been a second string goalie and a highly touted one at that for a long time. But I mean, perseverance and dedication to the sport. I mean, if that's not Jack Campbell in a nutshell, I don't know what is. I mean, after setting that record this year and proving, the naysayers wrong that he wasn't capable or he's not a number one or he's not. I don't know what else. I don't know who else in the league can one up Jack Campbell in all three of those categories. So anyway, big shout out to Jack. But did anything you guys want to chime in on Jack's season with regard to his nomination for the Masterson?
No, I was shaky at the beginning. Like I was saying, everybody relax. You know, he's only played one game at a time, and he's played one or two, injured for 5 or 6. And I was kind of not believing in him, but I was trying to get everyone to reel it in. And I'm glad I was glad everybody was right. And
You were
obviously
tempering
refreshing.
expectations, and I remember that distinctly in episode 5, 6, 7. We were talking about Campbell.
Leafs
Campbell.
jumped the gun, do they?
Yeah.
I was waiting. I was feeling bad for him, and I was like, I hope he never has a bad game, and it's going to happen, and it did. And it wasn't so bad. So, anyway,
Yeah, and like Ryan was
positive.
saying there about this award, and he was talking about perseverance. Like you got to remember that the game that he played before he went out with injury, he should have came out that game earlier, and played the rest of the game and said no, like the back of the Hutchinson shouldn't have to come in here. I'll finish the game injured, and then went on. Like
didn't he have a shutout that night too? I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Is that Calgary night?
Yeah, the night when Tkachuk jumped on his head. Yeah. I don't know if that was a shutout or not, but anyway, yeah, he finished the game, won the game.
Yeah.
And Muzzin shot the puck at. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
Muzzin dumped the puck on Tkachuk. Yeah, it was a good night. Yeah.
I really enjoyed that game, and the after effects and the hissy fit that Tkachuk threw, and he tried to rip that thing off the boards and he couldn't. The whole thing was magic for me. I was like, oh, this is what Disneyland feels like.
Yeah,
it's good. No,
yeah, it's good times. So,
but we were talking about the plan, like as if things were planned out. I seen a tweet today. I don't know who it was. Some guy that was retweeted by somebody else, but his tweet was a very simple one. He said, I've said it before and I will say it again. Sheldon Keefe and Kyle Dubas are not getting near enough praise for how this season is going. And I was thinking to myself, you're 100% right. 100% right. And in doing so, let's praise them up. So, on to Chad. Go.
I'll say, these guys got they've done it together since juniors, and they got the future of hockey, I think, kind of locked up there. They got that mentality. They really connect with the modern day player. I just think they're a bit ahead of the game. And same thing with the analytics and the people working the cap and Pridham and Dubas. I think just very modern, very money puck, very smart.
I think Kyle Dubas was a good GM, but he never became a great GM until he met Tony West.
Yeah, really though, right?
True.
That happened.
Tell the story. Might as well.
Yeah, so first time ever got a chance to go to a Leafs game. Got a buddy of mine that I'll shout out, Scotty Blue. He's from Ontario, and his family had some tickets, of course. So I went up to see the Leafs game, which was fantastic. My first time ever. I was like a kid. This was like 2 years ago. And the evening before, we decided to take in the Marlies game. So we never had any tickets or anything. We was like, we'll just go down and buy some tickets. So we went down and went in, got in the lineup. And while we were in the lineup to get some tickets, this lady just randomly walked up to us and said, are you guys looking for tickets? And, I'm in Toronto and I got a poor opinion of everything when I get outside of my comfort zone. And I'm like, okay, what's scalpers doing here? Selling Marlies tickets just don't make sense. They're only like $27 each.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, I had extra tickets. I got 2 extra ones. If you guys are looking for tickets, you can have them. And we're like, yeah, sure. Where are they? And she said, I don't know. They're upstairs in some box. And Scott right away reached out, takes the tickets right from her and goes, thanks very much, So he goes and gets in lineup and goes up in the elevator, and it's the City of Toronto box. So it's her brother worked with Toronto PD and got tickets, and she was taking a bunch of kids to the hockey game, and she had 2 extra tickets. So here was me and Scott and this lady and one other chaperone and a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds. So I didn't care. I was acting the same age as them. And second intermission comes, I'm like, man, I gotta jet to the little boys' room there. Scott's like, yeah, go ahead. I open up the door in the box and I walk face and eyes into Kyle Dubas and his wife.
No way.
Oh yeah. I'm like, Kyle, dude. Like, how do you react, right?
Yeah.
I try,
what are you at, Kyle?
Yeah, right.
Pretty much. Go, brother.
Pretty much, right? I gave him the quick Reader's Digest version of how I ended up there, and it was my first Marlies game, my first Leafs game, stuff like that. And I was from Newfoundland. He was like, so you following the Growlers? I'm like, yeah, dude. And it was only like that day me and Scott were talking about the growlers and stuff like this. And so I knew all of it, you know, could regurgitate all that to him pretty quickly. And he said, no, we're going to try to get down after Christmas and see a game in St. John's and stuff like this. And I was like, no, it's cool. And I was like, do you mind if I get some pictures or whatever? And he was like, yeah, sure. Give her your phone. So he takes up my phone, gives it to his wife, and I'm there stood up, and I'm like, I don't even know. You know, I'm like a kid, Chad. Like, it's ridiculous, right? I'm just stood there like, what am I supposed to do, right? And he goes, take a deep breath, he said. Don't forget to smile. That's what he says to me, right? Don't forget to smile, right? So you see the picture I've sent. Ryan has seen the picture, of course, and I'm, you know,
talking about making their trip too, right?
I looks a bit out of it, right? I looks a bit out of it. But anyways, yeah, I had probably it was 10 or 15 minutes just in the hallway, just chatting with him. Really nice guy, cool as a cucumber. Like, never rushed off, never said he had to be anywhere, just stood there and chatted with me, and then got some pictures. And I said, appreciate your time, Carl. And I went back in the backs and I forgot to even go to the washroom and everything.
Go on.
Oh, I was dumbfounded, right?
Didn't need to go to the washroom, just shit himself, right?
Thanks, Carl. Took care of that for me too.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. I must say, it was.
Oh man,
one of those things. Like when you're in Toronto, Scott told me when I first got up there, he said, "Listen, if we're going walking around Toronto, you're up for a hockey weekend, get a Sharpie, put it in your pocket. Yep. You have no idea who you're going to bump into at any time whatsoever." I didn't realize that was a precursor for what he had me set up for. But during the pre-Leaf game, before the warm up, he had me down in under the stairs outside the locker room. It was all laid out by his uncle who had the tickets and stuff like that. And they got Wendell Clark come out and meet me. Got some pictures outside the locker room with Wendell. Yeah, the Wendell. See, and I had the Tavares jersey. Just bought the Tavares jersey at the time, right? Standing up, taking a picture, and he looks at me and goes, "You know, I wear number 17, right?" And I'm like, oh.
Sorry, Wendell.
Terrible. Yeah. But yeah, no, it was a fun time. But if you go to Toronto to watch a hockey game, put a Sharpie in your pocket.
Yeah, definitely.
100%.
And not even just for hockey players. I mean, there's Jays and Raptors around everywhere too, right?
There's everybody. You don't know who you're going to run into, you know?
No. That's pretty cool.
Fun time.
I never runs into anybody when I'm up there. It's ridiculous.
That's because you don't travel with Tony.
Yeah, I know.
We ran into a bunch of the BioSteel guys in summertime. It was like Wayne Simmons, Darnell Nurse, and Tyler Sagan, and all those guys. We bumped into those guys. Yeah,
nice.
Pretty cool. I was sitting down at the Jays game, and I was sitting down at the Jays game with my daughter. Actually, she was pretty young. My son was only a baby, and he was kicking up a fuss. So my wife does. She takes the stroller. She goes out. She leaves the ballpark and just starts walking around. I get a text message. I look at it. I'm like. She got a picture of someone. Like, is that Darnell Nurse? She's like, yeah. I'm like, picture of Darnell Nurse and my wife and baby. Hey, what do you have?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, I got a story for you guys. I went to buy a used bedroom set one time, and it belonged to Eddie Shear, chief meteorologist, not even like the regular meteorologist, but chief meteorologist from the NTV Evening News.
Straight out of Philly.
Man, what an experience. Yeah. What an experience. Something I'll never forget the time I bought Eddie Shear's queen size bed, mattress, box spring, 2 end tables, and a nightstand. Or a dresser, sorry. Anyway, shout out Eddie Shear from NTV Evening News. Oh, God, you guys suck. Not you, Eddie Shear. These two guys. Moving on from your awesome stories to Mr. Keefe. That's what we were getting at when I got off on that tangent. We talked about Dubas. Dubas deserves all the praise for assembling said team. Big time.
Yeah.
We can talk about that some more, but I think I don't think Keefe is getting. I mean, Dubas has got a bit of praise. I mean, obviously, you look at what he was alleged to be able to do. You can't keep them all. You won't be able to build a team around him. Blah blah blah. Obviously, everyone knows he's like, yeah, whatever. Hold my beer. But Keefe, the simple decisions that he made, which were so blatantly obvious to everybody anyway, like putting Matthews and Marner together, going out and looking for skilled players to play, skilled but workable players to play the wings for Tavares and Nylander, guys who shifting around the lineup. Like no one even remotely predicted Joe Thornton was going to land in the top 6 for starters at the beginning of the season. He played incredibly well there.
And Keefe approached Tavares in the offseason to get him to change his role completely.
Yep.
And they worked on that in the offseason because they looked at how they lost and why they lost. I'm like, well, here it is. We're missing this. And, that's one thing about some of these players that could be an elite goal scorer. You can't go to that guy and ask him to do something different. That's what he does. But you can go to John Tavares and say, hey, can you stop scoring so many goals and play defense? He's like, okay. And he still scores goals.
No, there's no stopping Johnny T anyway. This is just the way it is. No. But he has changed his game, and it's the best I've seen him play. I mean, everybody will always talk about his 47 was he score? 46, 47?
Mm-hmm.
They'll talk about that as his best season as a Leaf, but it's not. This year, while he had a little bit of a drought points wise, he still played incredibly well during that stretch.
Yep.
I mean, incredibly. He was a dog the entire time. He looks like and this is high praise for me. And I don't throw this out there very often, but he looks very Zach Hyman on the puck. Like he's just an absolute dog on the puck.
Yep.
And that's not I mean, John Tavares, even with the Islanders, he was always great along the boards and strong. But I've just never seen him play with the intensity he's playing with now. That's my take on JT. And like I said, that came from Keefe. That's coaching.
When you ever look at the games now, Ryan, like me and you watch many Leafs games together and stuff like that. But you ever notice that when you see something happening now with the team or a certain way that they're playing or certain players together or whatever, that you're going, this is what we yelled about 3 years ago.
Oh,
we yelled constantly at our TVs after the game, during the game, all the time. We were yelling at our TV, do this, Which coach looks at it and goes, I have possibly, a top 5 playmaker on the team. And up until Matthews now really coming into his own, I got a guy that can put the puck into the net. Maybe we should let them play together.
Yeah.
Maybe we should let them play together. Why not? Let's do that.
The thing is too, and we all watched the Leafs at a time when they didn't have a number 1 center or a number 1 defenseman. Right? I mean, that's not so long ago. 2015 is not that long ago.
Or a goalie.
Or a goalie at that point, no.
Or a goalie.
I mean, when you look at the team they have currently, like when I'm sitting around pre-game, post-game, talking about the things I like to talk about or thinking about the things I like to think about, I'm like thinking now about things like, God, what is that the guy I really would have chose to use as my 4th line left winger? Not sure. I'm like, dial it back to 2015 when Peter Holland was playing in your number 1 spot for better than part. I just. Whoa! Yeah. Like I mean, we got first world center. Problems.
Oh yeah, Kozak was number 1.
Yeah, like we got a winning team obviously this year, but I mean it hasn't been without its hiccups along the way either. Like our number 1 goalie went down. Number 1 goalie went down mid-season, so you got a stand-up backup goalie that you turn into a goalie that's now 17-2-2. Yeah. You got injuries throughout the lineup all season. We haven't been without our own injuries and stuff like that. You got all these new faces coming in. You got Alex Galchenyuk, boys. Like, just talk about it for a second. Like
playing hockey, man.
He bounced around. Everybody was like, I don't know why the Leafs got this guy. Like, they just got too much money. That's what I heard people say. Right? They got way too much money that they're just paying him, and he's going to end up in the minors, and they're just going to pay him the money anyway because Toronto don't care. And look at the hockey that he's playing, and that comes down to Sheldon Keefe. That's it. It comes down to the coaching and the coaching staff.
2 people
and the whole culture. And the whole culture.
Yeah,
completely. Everyone's going to find into it, and finally, I think people have, and this.
Yeah,
it needed to happen.
Dubas seen that player, knew that player. When he seen him get shipped out for nothing, cleared waivers. Alex Galchenyuk at $1 million cleared waivers.
Yep.
And Dubas is like, what?
I want that in my top 6.
Yeah, one James garbage.
Holy shit! Yeah. Like if they win a cup this year and Alex Galchenyuk scores 1 goal, it will be one of the best trades in the history of the NHL because
it makes all the markings in the story.
Holy shit! Like I mean, it's just fairy tale shit, right? And he is playing like a man possessed. He's all over it, both ends of the ice. It's
Yep.
I talked to a lot of my Habs friends when the trade happened, because I knew Chucky. I followed him in his rookie year. I was like, great, the Habs got a great player in it, Galchenyuk. He had scored 30 goals shortly thereafter, and I was like, oh, that sucks, right? But he scored. I remember in his rookie year, he scored a breakaway goal in training camp that was all over Sports Center for like 2 weeks. Like he was a star player, right? And so when he came over to the Leafs, I had lost track of him. I had, like a lot of people. He fell off my radar once he got traded from Montreal anyway. And got talking to a few of my buddies. I'm like, so what was the knock on him? Like, why did he not stick in Montreal? He's a 3rd overall pick. Like, why didn't he stick? And people were like, work ethic. And I'm like looking at the guy playing now. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What? Commitment,
Yep.
work ethic? You're shitting me, right?
Yeah. The guy oozes it, right? But he's obviously playing like a guy that realizes that, okay,
last chance.
This technically is my last chance. It really is. It's not technically, literally my last chance.
Yeah.
This team is willing to put me on a line with William Nylander and John Tavares on their second line and give me this shot. If you don't do it there, you don't do it.
Hang him
Just
up.
don't do it. Yeah.
Hang up the
just well for you to go find some other job, laying side or doing something. But because if you can't, it's arguably the best teammates that he's had since he's been in the league.
It's not arguably.
And
he's
playing on a second line.
Yeah, and some players just need that little bit extra to get the full potential out of them, and it's probably not going to work with a lot of coaching egos.
Listen,
that's it.
I know I'm a homer like the rest of you guys, but at the end of the day, this is a fact, not an opinion. Alex Galchenyuk will never play on a better line ever in his career.
No.
He'll never play unless for some ungodly reason he ends up with Marner Matthews.
Yeah,
he will never play on a better line in his entire career. I don't give a shit, because those two players are absolutely elite level players, right?
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see what happens next year. Like, what does he sign for? Where does he go? What does he want? Is he back on track to go anywhere?
If he wins a cup, I don't give a shit where he goes. I don't care if he's.
That's also fair. That's very fair.
You know what? I would love to see him commit to the team who took a chance on him. I would love to see him come on board for something friendly. For give him a couple of years at $1.5 million or something. And
it has lots of potential to be friendly, because it's essentially been a 1-year rebuild. So you haven't really, you haven't proven exactly what you're going to do down the road by having your 1 year last ditch attempt. Try, you know what I mean? That doesn't define you as what you will be further down the road. So I think that with other things that's happening on the team and stuff like that, and wherever they got the voodoo doll hid away to, it's quite possible that Galchenyuk is like signed for maybe two years at least.
I wouldn't be surprised. He's not going to get more than $2 million anywhere anyway.
No, it's going to be a little less than $2 million.
Despite how well he's playing, he's still not producing. Like he's not producing at an elite level clip. Like he's playing effective hockey on a second line, in a more of a role position than a scoring position. But he can rip it, he can dangle, and he can dig the puck out. So, no, I if he re-signs for any longer than 6 months, I'm going to get a jersey. I like the kid that much. I will buy a Galchenyuk jersey. Things I thought I would never say.
See,
holy
if the Leafs
cow.
win the cup, if they win the cup, they can't afford him. If they don't win the cup, I think he'll come back cheap.
Well, like I said, I don't even care if Matthews comes back if he wins the cup. I really don't. I could give two shits.
Just
who comes back?
Space for McDavid to come in.
Yes, just whatever. Whatever if they wins the cup. Don't care.
Never watch it again anyway.
Enough with the love on Chucky. That's a bit much. We're a bit off track there, but I like that. That was good. That was a good throw in. I like that. To Keefe, the one thing we didn't touch on, we were talking about Mr. Keefe. Sheldon Keefe is now the most winningest coach in Leafs history through his first 100 games. Yes. Now, Tony, I believe you looked up who the other coaches were.
Yeah. So I was reading on he's been talked about now in the circles for Jack Adams, obviously. And just with what he's done with the Leafs and just a coach the way that he is, and now the winningest coach in Leafs for the first 100 games. So the other three that's directly below him, I won't go with the list of every one of them, but the other three. So the first one is Hap Day. So if you want to be spoken in a circle of a Leaf coach, let's put your name right in the conversation with Habs. He had 58 wins. So just for reference, Keefe has had 61 wins in 100. Habs had 58. Pat Burns, who's won the Jack Adams 3 times, had 56, and Pat Quinn had 55.
Yeah.
So you look at those names, and then you put Sheldon Keefe next to it. It's like one of these things are not like the other kind of conversations. But,
or is it?
Or is it? Yeah. But he's got three more wins than our Hall of Fame coach, Habs. 3 more wins in his first 100. So that's
well, if I'm not mistaken, they're all Hall of Fame coaches. that's the scary reality.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like, I mean,
right?
he's putting himself in conversations just like Jack Campbell did at elite level records that are somewhat unbreakable. And when you said Pat Burns, my initial thought was because you can't win that many games without having a good team. I don't give a shit how good of a coach you are, right? There've been a lot of good coaches fired because they had shitty teams, didn't have nothing to work with, right?
Yeah.
So you got to have a good team. And when you said Pat Burns, I was like, they hired Pat Burns. His first season would have been 93, maybe.
Yeah.
Pretty good team. I don't know if it was 93. It was 92 or 93.
The team that everybody is comparing, saying, well, this team now is even better than the 93 team.
Yeah. And they are.
So I'll stop right now for a second and say, okay, you're saying I'm oddly calm and it's making you worried or encouraging you. Everything we've talked about so far, I mean, have you not calmed down a little bit?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I mean, we're just outlining.
No, I'm still losing.
Everything
I'm still
deadly.
I'm still not fit. Like, actually, now that you've mentioned it, I'm probably worse.
How much longer are we going to talk about how deadly this is going to go? I mean, I can talk about it all night.
Frig. I don't know, man. I'm paranoid. I'm damaged. I think I'm damaged beyond what a normal damaged fan is. I think I've invested. I cried when the Marlies won the Calder Cup. I mean, like, come on. Like, I'm damaged. Anyway.
What? Get your tissues for this year.
It's legal, Ryan. It's legal.
Yeah, I know.
Settle down, Ryan. Settle down.
I'm gonna lose my mind.
Tony loves it. Look at him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
we makes it when we get to the finals. I'm just going to take my suitcase and just go in and sit down next to Ryan anyway.
Yeah,
just stay there.
I'll need the emotional support. Trust me.
Every time he starts to get hyped up, I'll just drop something in his glass.
It's all downhill from here.
Something that dissolves.
Hold me, Tony. Hold me. Oh God, this is getting worse. All right, so moving on.
Okay. What are we moving on to?
Let's do it.
I think it would be terrible fans if we didn't at least mention in passing that Austin Matthews scored 40 goals this season in 49 games.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm just going to stop talking. Let you guys talk. Like I don't even know what to say.
So we were talking about, is he going to get 50, right? I mean, that's what everyone was wondering. And, everybody wanted to believe. So unless he comes out and has like a couple McDavid nights, then no. And I don't, he's done all right.
I'm okay with not getting 50 because he got a half a dozen or 10 with a bum wrist.
You remember that stretch where he went through where everyone was saying, oh, well, the 50-50 is gone because he had 5 games in a row where he didn't score or had 1 goal in 6 games or something.
Yeah.
He hit the post 9 times in that stretch, remember?
Yeah.
It was like ringing a bell constantly.
Sky's falling.
Yeah. And he's ringing them off the crossbar, ringing them off the post. I'm like, quarter of an inch the other way, he got 50 goals. Right?
Yeah.
So I'm not 40 goals in a shortened season. Like I said, I always compare it to my years as a Phil Kessel fan because I still love Kessel. By the way, did you see the fat shaming
900
Kessel
points?
with 900 points?
Yeah.
900 points in what? Was it 908.99? Is that what it was?
Yeah, just under 1,000. Yeah, just under 1,000.
Just under 1,000. Okay, I thought it was just under 900. Okay.
Yeah. No, there was a lot of nasty comments about that photo, but man,
of course,
Kessel will always be. I don't know if he'll always be my favorite Leaf of all time, but man, I cheered for him hard for a lot of years, and to see him still producing at his age, at his level of fitness, at his "I give no shits" attitude.
In
Like
the desert.
what an absolute legend of a player.
Oh,
Like,
absolutely.
what a legend.
One of a kind.
Just one off.
Yeah.
Like his interviews were always the best too. Like his interviews,
Social misfit.
oh, just like whatever. Just
He
like
had, he had zero fucks to give, and that was it.
Yeah.
And that was the charm. Like when the microphone was put in front of him, some of the interviews where he just looked at him and was like, "I'm not even going to answer that question."
Yeah.
And then just turned around and walked away. And I'm like, yes, you just scored, maybe a hat trick that game, and someone's asking you, about how many times you go to the gym a week.
Yeah.
Get out of my face. And that was.
I like it when they're interviewing the Penguins individually and asking, and as soon as I said, the interviewer would go like, Phil Kessel, and every single one of them either like big grin or they bust out laughing before like you even ask a question. It's like Phil Kessel, and everyone just busts out laughing. It's oh my god, this guy is hilarious. Like just wild dude, right?
Yeah,
different cat, man. Yeah.
Just
win the cup for a day. What are you going to do with it? Are you going to take it home and show your hometown? No, you're going to take it to Toronto and eat hot dogs and take pictures.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, God love him. Legend.
Just a legend. Absolutely. I'm glad we threw him in there because I didn't have it as a
Feel
note
the thrill,
myself,
man.
But
I do have that signed jersey upstairs, and I need to get that on the wall.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I don't have. You know what? Out of all the memorabilia I got kicked in the boot, I got no Kessel autograph. It's amazing to me.
No.
I had an autographed Kessel rookie card, but after they lost to Boston in the in 2015, I sold it for next to nothing. Not because I just didn't want anything Boston in my life. It was hurting me. So my autographed Kessel.
What did you do with the Dion Phaneuf stuff?
Oh no, Dion Phaneuf. I never had anything behind him anyway. Now don't get me wrong, I was a Phaneuf fan too.
But you know what? Him and Kessel were both misplaced with their roles, and I stick by that. They should never have been given the roles and the money and the responsibilities they were given. I
got way off topic with the Phil Kessel thing because what I was getting to was that I always compared Matthew's situation currently to Phil Kessel back in the 6-8 seasons where he had 30 goals for the Leafs. We'd be at game because Kessel was an Iron Man, still is. That's the other thing about him. What I find to be absolutely amazing. He's an absolute beast of an Iron Man, which you would never suspect. But we'd be sitting there at game 78. Game 79. Okay, Kessel got 26 goals. Kessel got 29 goals. Will he hit 30? Will he do it this year again? Can he do it? At game 79, 80, 81. And like Matthews is ripping home 30. Like it's just it's so stupid good that it makes no like. And I said to someone the other day, maybe it was even on his podcast, Matthews is setting the bar so obscenely high for the average fan that nobody will ever be able to play in Toronto after he leaves. It'll be like, what? Our number one center only has 35 goals this year. Trade him. But that's the reality of the bar that Matthews is setting, is that it's just stupid numbers. He's on pace for 60 plus goals every year.
It's going to be unacceptable to do less from now on from Leafs Nation.
Yeah, but do less. Can you imagine, like, regardless of how this season ends, what it's going to be like again next season? Like every year, the gauge gets just like, it's not a little bit better. He's not getting a little bit better every season. Like, it's exponential what's happening, right?
He's checking the list too, right? He's checking off the list that I need to get better list, the same as Sidney Crosby, right? So like Crosby was an elite level player right out of his rookie season, as was Matthews, and every year Crosby would. Okay, 1 year I'm gonna work on my backhand. He comes back with the best backhand in the league. Then he's like, okay, I need to work on my size. I need to get a little bit bigger. He come back and he got quads on him like my thought, like my waist. You know what I mean? Then he's like, oh, I need to work on my defensive game. I need to get better 200-foot
face-offs.
Face-offs. Yeah, I remember the year that he worked on face-offs in the offseason. This was Crosby, and he came back the following year and put up like 50%, 55% for the year. It was crazy. That's one thing I did notice the other night too from that Habs game. Matthews was at a 75% clip in the dot. I was like, who does that? It's just foolish.
It's a whole new level, right? And we're watching it. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. We're watching it going like, this is absolutely fantastic because we haven't seen this type of talent before. And the guys, like Marner, we'd be remiss to include him even in this conversation with the 40 goals. Like, we'd be remiss, because he's had a phenomenal season on the wing with, and the chemistry, and it's just, watching it is fun. When you see him get on the ice, you're like, oh, well, I guess we're going to get a goal here, or we're going to dominate the play, at least in the other end, or whatever's going to happen, right? Like,
it's really funny because like everyone's talking now, like whenever you see a post about Matthews, is, oh, Matthews is going to go down as one of the greatest Leafs of all time. I'm like, yeah, Marner too.
yes,
like
100%.
Marner gets more points than him.
Yeah.
Every year.
Yeah.
Matthews haven't outscored Marner since they came into the league. Marner always
not in points.
Nope. So I mean, like,
Nope.
he is going to go down as one of the, and you get all those guys on the same line for the next 4 years. What are they capable
Legends
of?
Row.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, better build a piece on there, boys. Legends Row is going to start filling up.
Yeah.
That's right.
Start melting down some of the old statues, make some new ones. No, that's a lot of. I'm glad we finished off with a bit of love for Matthews and Marner, because at the end of the day, that's what this season has been about. It's been about building a team around those guys, and Keefe and Dubas. We touched on those guys, what they had to do to make that happen, and hopefully the accolades that they get because of it. Like I said, GM of the year and Coach of the year, I don't think is out of reach for either one of them. And it's easy to say because we're fans, but hey, show me somebody who's done better. Let's just hit a bit of around league news before we knock this baby on the head. So two really what I would call newsworthy things that happened in the last couple of days. The Tom Wilson incident. We don't need to go through the ifs and buts and ands of what actually happened, but we're well past that now anyway. But the fallout from the no suspension and then the fight game that happened after. I mean, where do you guys sit with all that? What's your take on it?
So my thing was, when I watched it, like, we all know Tom Wilson's history is back, what he's done and stuff like that. But when I looked at it, I went, okay, this is Department of Player Safety, right? So they didn't give him the suspension. Everybody was crying for it. I mean, the Rangers paid $250,000 because they never got it. And then the next game starts, and at the first second, there's 6 guys fighting.
Yep.
And then by the end of the first period, there was like 100 penalty minutes.
Yep.
So if you're the Department of Player Safety and you're looking at a situation and what it warrants down the road, whether it's a suspension or a fine or whatever it is, do you not for a second go, okay, guys, what is the repercussions of our decision here? What repercussions, if whatever decision we make, how does that affect the next game, when they knew that this team, their next game was against the same opponents? So do they not stop? Do they not stop and go, all right, if we give them a suspension, then this probably all just goes away. Okay, he got a suspension. It's what players get when they do a dirty hit. And it's not even so much the Panarin stuff, even though that was terrible. It was the punch in the back of the head while your stick is under the throat of the opposing player while he's taking that.
So Panarin never had a helmet on, man. He ragdolled him twice.
Yeah, I know, but leading up to that, because they said that the fine was for the punch. Right? So even if you looked at that punch individually, just right there, the Panarin thing, okay, it was a reaction, it was this and that, Panarin jumped on him, whatever the talking points is of it. The punch was, his stick was in under his throat, he was face on the ice, and he punches him in the back of the head. So you give him a 1-game suspension. Tom Wilson has been suspended before, previous offender. There's lots of reasons to justify it. It's easy to go, but it also has a cooling effect for the next game. They go,
which is also against Rangers. That's the catch. He would have been suspended for that game against the Rangers.
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. It's the cooling effect for the next game, which Tom Wilson, because he stepped on the ice in the next game, aside from the fights that started between everybody else at the start of the game, his first shift, the Rangers player, I forget who it was now, went right at him. Like he skated across the red line, and the other player just decked him. But if he wasn't in that game, that wouldn't have happened. If he was suspended already in the teams, that's one thing you do know about hockey players is, take for instance the Simmons fight. Once that fight happened and Ehlers atoned for Zach Hyman, there was no more. That was it. It was done. We are finished having this conversation now. All the rest of the team just went about their business. If Tom Wilson had been suspended, all the rest of the team would have went, okay, we got our, retribution for that. He's not playing. It's costing this much in wages. We don't have to listen to him for the next game against Washington, stuff like that. And they would have just went about the business of hockey.
Well, what would have happened the next time that they played him? There still would have been a fight, just one.
But it would have been just Tom Wilson.
Yeah. So and that's the way it's meant to go, right? That's the way it's supposed to go, and that's the way. What I really liked, because I probably shouldn't, because his takes are hot as hot gets, but I follow Sean Avery a lot and his tweets and stuff, because I mean, again, the no filter guys are the funnest to listen to, right?
Yep.
And Avery tweeted that he's like, Tom Wilson, let me tell you how I would have dealt with that. He said, I would have dumped the puck in the corner, racing down the boards. He said when the goalie came out to play the puck, he said, I would have absolutely destroyed him. And that's what Sean Avery said. That's how I would have handled and he said that would have made him think twice about what he did to our players, right?
Yeah.
And he said, you at some point the players got to police it themselves. He said, if the league won't, you got to do it yourself. And while he was not wrong, while he wasn't right in what he said, he wasn't wrong, because that's just the way it is. And George Laraque dropped the ball. Not George Laraque, sorry. George Peros dropped the ball. And the Rangers statement that cost him $250,000 wasn't wrong either.
Well,
so
see, the Washington Capitals got to want him to stop for him to stop. And they clearly don't want him to stop.
Nope.
And they're going to act like he's this big, strong man. And, everyone else is falling victim because of his physicality. I'm like, well, Ryan Reeves is Tom Wilson's boogeyman, and he's not doing this shit.
Yeah.
No, there's only one guy doing this all the time, and you're going to give him the benefit of the doubt sometimes in a violent act. I mean, it was a joke, and the NHL really made themselves look real bad.
It could have, like I said, it could have prevented so much other stuff that had a high potential for guys getting seriously hurt, because they had the guy that I think it was the guy that he punched, wasn't it? Bushnevich got suspended the next game too for the high cross check into the face of a Washington player.
Yeah, and that was a good dart in the face. That was.
But that's just retaliation again. That would not have happened, and that was a high risk. Like, I looked at that went,
yep.
Like you.
But the funny thing about that play, that cross check, was that cross check doesn't happen either if Anthony Mantha doesn't go looking for it. Right?
Exactly. Well,
he was
looking for it too.
He was slashing him on the back of the legs as he was skating away, and then when they turned to come around, well, boom, right up in the face. And I don't know if it was intent to injure, or if just that's just the way his hands and everything rolled up. I don't think it was anything more than that, but of course it became a dangerous play and suspension, right? But
all that stemmed from the start of the game.
Yep.
Second one, they dropped the puck, and the guys didn't even they dropped their sticks. The puck hit the ice, sticks and gloves hit the ice, and they started fighting.
That's right.
None of that happens. None of this animosity is there, because it seems like hockey players are really good about going about their business. Once a dispute is settled, it's done. We don't have to talk about it anymore. There has to be no more retaliation. We settle it once, and that's it. And that's what would have happened.
And that is the code, right?
Yes.
We always hear about the code in hockey, and that is it. That is it. You settle your differences and you move on. There's been times when players who legitimately hated each other on the ice, went on to be great teammates together.
That's right.
Down the road.
Yeah.
Because that's just the way it works. You settle your scores and you move on. You play golf with them in the off season. If the opportunity appears, you go to their wedding. That's just the way it works. This is the other thing. The guys know each other. It's not the 80s anymore. It's a different league, and the players are way more connected because of international events and everything else. So it's different. But that being said, I just wanted to touch on that Wilson thing. I want to ask you this question about the Tom Wilson fight, because it was something which was going through my head. I watched the game. I watched this game too, the fight game, because I knew what it was going to be. So I'm sitting back watching the fight game, and I'm like, all right, there's 6 guys in the penalty box. And I was like, if this is the Leafs, who are your 6 guys
in the penalty box?
Yeah,
for fighting.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, Wayne Simmons.
No,
Jake wasn't. Jake Muzzin, Justin Hall, Travis Dermott.
Have Hall had a fight yet?
I think he has.
Would be interesting to look up later. But yeah, okay, fair enough. Travis
So it
Dermott, you
says
think is in the box?
Travis.
No.
Oh, guaranteed. He's scrappy.
He's never had a fight.
Yes.
Not once. His first fight would be the Tom Wilson fight. Go away.
Look that up. Look that up. You're wrong.
Okay, maybe.
See.
That's 4. I don't agree with 2 of them, but anyway, go ahead. That's why this is fun.
With what I've seen in the with what I've seen in the last few games, I think Thornton's sitting in the box, man.
I mean, he's dropped him before, but he fights like Jonathan Taves. I mean, that's who he fights. But you know what? He could be at us.
Okay.
Thanks. Who else? Give me a second. Zach Hyman, maybe.
So you're going with the train.
Foligno for sure. Foligno 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Foligno.
I'm not used to saying that.
I was wondering if you were going to get there eventually. I was like, yeah.
You tell me Travis Dermott's never had a fight.
Didn't Spezza drop him in the play-ins last year?
Yes, I mean, out of desperation. Troy Brower and Travis Dermott. Who else? Also, Bogosian was showing him how to fight. Remember that in practice?
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Archibald and Dermott have fought. Yeah.
I'll go on record as saying,
get out of here.
This is sad, but I think our defensemen are a lot more tough than our forwards. And
well, I mean, typically
that's typically the case with most teams. But but my 6 would definitely be. I'm gonna go.
And if Bogosian's back, I'll go with him too.
I guess it goes without saying that everyone's 6 is going to be Wayne Simmons and 5 other guys. So obviously Wayne Simmons, Jake Muzzin, I will agree, because he's outside of Simmons, he's probably got the most fights on the team that have as a Leaf. Our Leafs don't fight that much, but Simmons, Muzzin has had to drop him a couple of times in the past couple of years. So definitely Simmons, definitely Muzzin. From there, I'm saying definitely Bogosian, because that's his bread and butter. He's like, I can't believe he hasn't fought yet with the Leafs. I don't think he has he? Has he dropped them yet?
Just don't get injured is what he's getting told. Sure.
Okay, so that's my locks. Then I'm saying Foligno, for sure.
Yes, of course, yeah.
Hyman, I'm saying for sure, because he's scrappy as all hell. I think so.
Maybe.
I think for sure. Where I start to fall off the wagon is in my number 6 pick. I'm like, who of you bunch of high-end Hall of Fame players is going to drop the mittens? Because it's almost got to be Jumbo. Like, that's what you're there for, right? You're the old dude. You're gigantic.
It has to be Jumbo, because you got Jumbo and Adam Brooks and Jason Spezza on a line.
Yeah.
So, did you see the picture of Brooks sitting between Spezza and Thornton?
Yeah.
Favorite picture from the year.
I read the caption at the bottom. Take your kid to work day.
Yep.
And I'm sitting there going,
it's like he's uncomfortably wedged there too. You know, the boys are sitting there with shoulder pads that are like this boy.
Not a hair on his
Brooks
face.
is like this.
No.
Holding his stick. Right? But
Awesome.
no, it has to be Jumbo.
So
Jumbo gotta just bear hug somebody or something. I don't know. Kadri pulled the beard out, and so let someone else have a go at it. Let someone else have a go at it.
That was my favorite fight. Man, Kadri got under his skin something that game. And following games.
He'd do that to Crosby day in, day out. He'd do that to McDavid day in, day out. He's a star killer, man. I miss him. I was talking about him today. I still miss him.
Yeah.
100%.
Now, Tony, did you want to go for your 6 guys in the box, or is it very similar to what me and Chad said, I guess?
Like, I don't, there's nobody else to pick. I think this was like a community pick here, because
well, disagree with me then.
Well, I mean, Chad picked Dermott and Hall.
Yes, I 100% picked Dermott.
God, no way. Can't see it. I'd love to see Willie drop him. I'd love to see Willie drop him, because he's a beast of a man. He learned how to box when he was playing with the Marlies with Rich Clown. They went to boxing classes together. Everyone's like, oh, Nylander, soft Swede. If he was,
I've seen Tavares be pretty chippy in a few games too, like getting his hands in on the body and shoving guys out of the way and retaliating for being pushed away from the front of the net, stuff like that. I don't know about Johnny T. Couldn't, he's one of those guys that he's cool, and then he snaps. That's what I see.
But has he ever had a fight? I mean, he hasn't had one with the Leafs, but has he ever had a fight in his career? I wonder. I'd be interested to look that up.
You know, I've never seen one. I'm willing to bet he hasn't.
No, because I mean, those number 1 overall picks generally, that's not their.
No, I
If he
know,
did,
but
it was a huggy.
he
It
has
was a
been.
hugger for sure.
He's a hugger.
He's been a bit chippy. He's been, I've seen him use his stick a bit and use his hands, and I forget who
One
it was from there,
one guy that I think would go for it too, that none of us mentioned, is Mr. Kerfoot. I think in a scrappy game, I don't think he got any issues getting the mittens off. I really
Alex Burmistov versus John Tavares, 2010. There's a heavyweight bout there, buddy.
Right.
I bet you the number of punches thrown matches the number of fights that he was in. So yeah, fair enough. But anyway, I'm glad that you gave Johnny some love as a tough guy, but Tony, but
he's been a bit of a dad, right? So
and
you
he's
were
strong
talking
in
about
the
that
pocket.
earlier.
He is strong.
He is,
So,
you know.
You know who oddly got his mittens off with the Marlies when he was there? Alex Galchenyuk. That one shocked the shit out of me. He had a well, it didn't turn into a fight. It got turned into 2 roughing majors, but he had a goal and an assist and what was about to be a goal.
the Gordie Howe. That's right. Yeah.
Except for the linesman jumped in and screwed it up for him. But yeah, he got chippy, man, and he had there was no hesitation. Off come the gloves, and he went after Buddy. So, like I said, I was sitting back saying, "Oh, well, that would never happen for the Leafs. They'd never get 6 guys in the penalty box. Nobody's capable." Then I started saying, "Yeah, you know what? We could do it. 6 guys in the box, no problem." I wouldn't want to count on a goal.
Chopping bodies.
I would love to see Big Save Dave in a fight too. By the way, I think he's absolutely nuts. I think he's crazy.
Yeah,
you see all the memes about him body checking Buddy into the wall on the way to the ice. Awesome.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
Oh frig. Okay, guys, we got to wind this down. One more thing before we knock this on the head, and this is not Leafs related either, but it will be in another
whenever John Tavares' contract is up.
Yeah, Mr. McDavid. I know Leafs Oilers fans hate when we say this, but
we're terrible.
Inhuman.
future Toronto Maple Leaf, Connor McDavid, 100 points in a shortened season. How many games? 51?
53 was it?
53. Anyway, whatever it was.
Or 50. Whatever it was, but yeah,
no, 53. I think
some stupid thing.
Insanity. Either way, that's in today's game. It's nuts. Like the guy's on a mission. He got like a partial team to work with, so he's just putting it on his back and let's go. He's gonna do it himself.
Like
if he can't win something, he's gonna win everything himself.
The other night when he had 96 points, and everyone was like, "I wonder, can he do it?" I'm like, "What? Can he?" This is just a matter of will he? Because I mean, like, I looked at. Someone else had a tweet on, said, here's Connor McDavid's last 10 games leading up to his 100-point game. And it was 2 points, 3 points, 4 points. He had one game with 0 points, and it was 3 points, 4 points, 2 points. 3 points, 2 points, and 4. Like, it was like, it was Gretzky numbers, right?
Gretzky days, yeah.
He's putting up Wayne Gretzky numbers with Gretzky's old team in an era when you shouldn't be able to.
No.
Right. With not the team that Gretzky had.
Yes, not even close. I mean, this is not the 80s Oilers here. This is a step ahead of the
Curry and Coffee. You don't have those guys.
No. It's
amazing. It's amazing to me that management of that team cannot, for the life of them, with the first round picks and all this everything that goes along with it, and the big sign outside of Edmonton that always said City of Champions, that they can't figure out a way. Like Toronto is tying up this is how you link it to Toronto, by the way, Ryan. Toronto ties up a shit ton of money in 4 players. So we can't even you can't blame it on his contract. He's only making $1 million more than one of the Toronto players, and we got 2 guys making $1 million less. You know, he's getting 12 and a half. No. He's getting 12 and a half, and boys are getting 11.3 or whatever they are.
Listen,
whatever they're getting.
Draisaitl and McDavid's contract equals Marner and Matthews. The math is
exactly
right, because Draisaitl's a little light, right?
Yeah, like Ken Holland got his work cut out for him. There, he doesn't have a lot to work with. He's got all that fanboy decisions for the better part of 10 years to work with. I think if anybody can do it, it'll be Ken Holland. It's just going to take a bit of time, and if McDavid got the patience.
Ken
It's not even the patience. Is how soon before he starts running out of time.
Well, that guy needs to win. Like, that's the other thing. His patience, that guy's a competitor. He needs to win. That's what he did his entire life. And now he doesn't at the highest level. His dream is right there. And he needs patience if it's going to happen.
Yeah.
in Edmonton.
And
anyway.
he's trying his best. He's putting
Yeah.
the whole team on his back, and he's looking up the ice, and he's going, there's nobody I want to give the puck to. So what does he do? He skates for 200 feet and puts it in the net, or easy soft pass to someone else so they can put it in the net.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody's so
So
puck focused on McDavid, it frees up guys that no one cares.
yeah,
Anyway,
but I don't understand how management hasn't figured that out. Hasn't figured it out.
Listen,
I think
if there's one spot I wouldn't want to be a manager, that's the Edmonton Oilers, because that window is going to get small fast for the manager, right?
Yep.
Ken Holland got maybe 2 years left if he don't see an Western Conference championship at the very least. He's out of a job because there's no excuse. You got no excuse, right? Trade your first round draft picks, trade whatever, like make some deals, because it's not like people won't go to play with McDavid. People will. They've proven that. While Lucic is not the best signing they ever had, he was a top free agent that year. Everybody wanted him. No good for teams to say they didn't, because they did. He didn't pan out. But people will go there. That's not an issue. So you got to spend the money. You got to spend to the cap. And also, if you're confused after that, look over and see what Kyle Dubas did and say, okay, what move was that? He went and did. Yeah, okay, let's go look for one like that. Let's make that kind of a deal.
They have like 30 mil. They have like 30 mil cap space next year, boss. It's going to be big. Whatever they're going to do, it's going to be big. So I mean, it could be as early as next year that they have a team to work with, but you just got to be able to find the right goalie, the right couple of defensemen, because you're going to need that. You need some depth.
Who's the big UFA next year? I wonder. I haven't even looked.
I don't know who it is either right now, but when you do that,
hopefully
when you do that podcast for whatever Edmonton is going to do or just did that day, Ryan, call me again, Ryan, would you?
Yes. Then we'll revisit the Tony episode.
Yeah, exactly, I got a funny feeling I'll have a different color hair by the time we have to talk about it when the Oilers did something great, because I just seem like that franchise is destined for failure.
The doom.
Yeah, and I'm
not like the Leafs haven't been.
No. Well, like I said, I think outside of the Senators' poor start to the season, I think the Senators are a better team than the Oilers and better constructed. That is a scary thought.
So if you go back to the very first that God Awful pilot episode, we were talking about teams and dark horses. I totally picked Ottawa then, because I looked at that team and I said, man, that's a team full of dogs, and if they find chemistry, they're going to do some damage. They can, they'll play spoiler to a lot of people, and giving them a couple more years, and they're going to be a beast. So if they keep it together,
their start this year just put them in so much of a hole that even when they got to the point where they were playing spoiler and winning against the big name teams in the top of the division and stuff like that, it was too late.
And the goaltending was atrocious. Matt Murray found a game finally, but man, it was just a rough start. And that's it. And even if they had a better start, I don't think they would have been able to keep together to go anywhere really. But at least this was a year that I said you're going to see a team that's going to turn the tide in Ottawa. That's sorely needed. They'll just get a rink downtown and you'll be best God.
Yeah, I think that without the start, even if they'd had a 50% better start than what they had, they're sniffing at fourth, right? They're kind of looking like what Calgary is now, where everybody's looking at the schedule and going, okay, this many games, this many points, this many games, this many points, and counting it down right down till the end of this week. I really do think that that's where they would have been, because everybody ended up beating up on Vancouver. So even Ottawa did that. I
had Vancouver picked to make the playoffs, right? I really thought they had a good enough team to do it at the beginning of the season. But that's why we're on a podcast and not managing
professional gamblers.
Yeah.
Oh, fair enough.
Sad reality. What it is, what it is. Well, guys, I don't think we need to drag this on any longer. You guys got beer to drink or something, don't you? I'm sure.
Well, I'm after. I got to get another one. That's So yes.
Fair enough. All right. Well, I guess we'll knock it on the head then. Goes without saying, a big thank you to Tony for coming on, for one. Making yet another stellar Average Joe's episode. The most average of Joe's. Thank you very much.
No, I do appreciate
straight
the
out
invitation.
of Gander.
Yeah, straight out of Gander. I do appreciate the invitation. It's my first podcast, so it was great. Oh, cool. 100%. Me and Ryan do this like 3 times a week on the phone. So that's what I think Carly said that last time when you called me. She was like, just record what you guys are saying here now, because that's the podcast, what we're getting on with.
Perfect.
That's what we do.
It is what we do. Bigger shout out. The only bigger shout out that needs to be passed out is to PHG Sports out of Ontario, our sponsor. So grateful you guys came on board. Again, we're going to have a lot more coming from those guys in the coming weeks. Some more information on some of their products that they've got coming out, and apparently they've got a special incentive or a special coming for the playoffs for Leafs fans. So keep tuned, stay tuned for that one. We'll be all over it when it's released. And Mr. Todd, hopefully he'll be on for a podcast as well, just to shoot the breeze and talk some Leafs hockey because he's a fan as well. So if you're listening, you've liked what you heard, make sure to give it a share, guys, if you can. Share it around. Our shares seem to be going up routinely.
Yes. A few more.
We're really excited about whoever's subscribing to our podcast in Belgium. Shout out to you.
Yeah, shout out to Belgium.
Thank you, buddy. You are the man. That's our third biggest following.
Got to be a Novi.
It gotta be. And whoever's in Southern Australia listening to all of them, attaboy. Drop us a message. Let us know who you are and what you're liking. So, again, guys, thanks so much. Check us out. Again, our audio podcast are running on Spotify, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Our videos are running on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/DeekSnipesElly. Also, you can search on YouTube, Deke Snipes Ellie. You'll get us there, all of our episodes and trailers, and some other fun stuff too.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, on our own website, which is DeekSnipesEllie.ca. So, also, you can follow us on Twitter @SellyDeke, and feel free to retweet anything we've got going on there. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button. It should be right there next to Tony, right there. And I guess, peace out.
Yep. Cheers.
Whoa.